Tankers meant to carry millions of barrels overseas are sitting still, like parked cars with nowhere to go. Major ports in Texas and Louisiana are scrambling to find buyers, and allies, like Germany, France, and even South Korea, are quietly turning away from U.S. oil. They're buying it elsewhere. To understand how we got here, we need to rewind a bit, to when the U.S. government decided to play hardball on trade. The idea was simple: protect American industries by putting tariffs, basically extra taxes, on foreign goods like steel, aluminum, and even certain types of shipping or energy equipment. The logic? If imported products cost more, then local companies would have a better chance to compete, grow, and hire more American workers. On paper, it made sense. But in reality, things got messy, fast. See, many of these tariffs ended up hitting U.S. oil production in ways no one fully predicted. For example, steel tariffs made it more expensive to build pipelines and drilling rigs. Then, countries affected by the tariffs, especially allies like the European Union, South Korea, and India, fought back. They didn't sit quietly. Instead, they slapped their own fees and penalties on U.S. crude oil. That made American oil more expensive overseas, which meant fewer buyers wanted it. It's like this. Imagine charging your neighbors to use your garden hose. At first, you think you're protecting your water bill, but eventually, they just dig their own wells, or worse, start buying water from someone else. You still have all the water, but no one's coming to get it. That's exactly what's happening to the U.S. oil market. And it didn't stop there. Let's look at who's filling the gap. Once U.S. oil became more expensive because of retaliation tariffs, many of America's closest trade partners began to look elsewhere. And guess who was waiting with open arms? China and Russia. Before the tariffs, countries like Germany, South Korea, and Japan were major buyers of American oil. But after the trade tensions heated up, those numbers dropped sharply. U.S. oil exports to the European Union, for example, fell by double digits within just a year. South Korea, once a top customer, started sourcing more oil from other places, including the Middle East and Russia. Let's take Germany as a case study. Instead of sticking with American LNG, liquefied natural gas, Germany signed long-term energy deals with Russia and even started building infrastructure to handle Russian supplies. And it's not just Germany. India, another big energy buyer, found a clever route. They began buying Venezuelan oil at a discount, channeled through China, who handled the logistics and payments. The truth is, global demand for oil didn't vanish. It just shifted, and it shifted toward countries that didn't add political baggage or extra fees to every barrel. Think of it like a restaurant that suddenly adds a foreigner fee to every menu item. Regulars won't stop eating. They'll just dine somewhere else. That's what the world did with U.S. oil. And while buyers moved on, competitors moved in, and none faster than China. While the U.S. was tangled in trade disputes and losing buyers, China saw a golden opportunity and moved fast. For years, China has been building up its energy infrastructure like a giant game of chess. It invested in deep-water ports, new pipelines, and mega-refineries through projects like the Belt and Road Initiative. And then there's the Petro-Yuan, a system that lets countries trade oil in Chinese currency instead of U.S. dollars. All of this gave China the perfect tools to absorb the oil demand the U.S. was pushing away. Take Russian oil, for example. When Europe pulled back from Russia, China stepped in. Russian crude now flows into Chinese refineries, where it's cleaned, processed, and then, here's the twist, re-exported to countries that no longer want to deal directly with the U.S. or Russia. And because China doesn't face the same tariffs, they sell that same oil cheaper. A shipping executive recently put it this way: we're paying tariffs to sell, while China pays none to resell the same barrels. That's like baking cookies, getting taxed to sell them, and then watching your neighbor buy your cookies, repackage them, and sell them without any tax, at a better price. China didn't just take advantage of the chaos, it turned the chaos into a business model. Now let's talk about the people back home, the ones this was all supposed to help. When the government introduced tariffs, the goal was to protect American workers. But in oil towns across Texas, Louisiana, and North Dakota, the results have felt more like a betrayal than protection. Meet someone like Jake, a pipeline welder from Port Arthur, Texas. He used to work 60 hours a week, helping expand oil export terminals. Now, he's laid off. The port he worked at? It's quieter than it's been in years. Fewer ships, fewer shipments, and fewer jobs. And Jake's story isn't unique. Across the country, energy towns are seeing rig closures. canceled drilling projects, and shrinking revenues. According to recent data, the number of active oil rigs in the U.S. has dropped significantly since the tariffs were introduced. Pipeline construction has slowed and port activity has slumped, especially in areas that used to export a lot of crude. It's one of the great ironies of this whole situation. The very people the tariffs were meant to protect, American workers, are the ones paying the price. Jobs have dried up, not because we ran out of oil, but because we ran out of customers. Think of it like building a lemonade stand, then putting up a sign that says, "Only neighbors who pay extra can buy." Eventually, no one shows up, and you're stuck with a table full of lemonade and no income. Now, the big question is, can this mess be fixed? History has a strange way of repeating itself, and if we look back, this isn't the first time the United States has tried to use tariffs to protect industries. But the lessons haven't always been learned. Take the 1970s oil embargo, for example. The United States faced massive supply shocks when OPEC countries cut off oil. Gas stations had lines around the block. The government responded by investing in domestic production and fuel efficiency, but also learned how dangerous it is to rely too heavily on political strategies for energy security. Fast forward to the Trump era. Steel and aluminum tariffs were meant to bring back United States manufacturing jobs. And while a few mills reopened, the costs of everything from cars to beer cans went up, and other sectors took a hit. Experts looking at the current oil situation say something similar. The problem isn't protection, it's precision. If the United States had negotiated smarter, maybe offered exemptions to allies or phased in tariffs more gradually, the retaliation might have been avoided. Instead, it was a one-size-fits-all move that triggered global backlash. So is there a way out? Some producers are already making the pivot. In states like California and New Mexico, oil companies are shifting investment into hydrogen and renewable energy. These aren't just clean. They're also more resilient to geopolitical shocks. No one's slapping a tariff on sunshine or wind, at least not yet. In short, the United States has options, but none of them are quick fixes. And the deeper question is this: what kind of energy future does America really want? For years, the United States pushed for energy dominance, a strategy built on the idea that by producing more oil and gas than anyone else, America could control global markets and strengthen its power. And for a while, it worked. The United States became the top oil producer, exported to dozens of countries, and reduced dependence on the Middle East. But energy dominance only works when others want to buy what you're selling. And thanks to these tariffs and retaliation from allies, that demand is slipping away. Meanwhile, diplomacy, the art of building trust, partnerships, and long-term agreements, is taking a back seat. Countries like China, which focus on strategic deals and mutual benefits, are slowly winning over the customers the United States is losing. And here's the risk. If the United States keeps using oil as a weapon in trade wars, it might end up weakening something even more important, the petrodollar. That's the system where most global oil is traded in United States dollars, which gives America major financial power. But if countries start trading oil in yuan, rubles, or even digital currencies, the United States could lose its grip. Imagine running the world's biggest restaurant but slowly losing all your loyal customers because you keep raising prices and arguing with them. That's the direction things are heading. So, the final question becomes, will America keep trying to dominate alone or start rebuilding trust before the market shifts for good? So here's the big irony. The tariffs meant to protect America's oil industry ended up weakening it. Instead of boosting United States energy exports, they pushed buyers into the arms of rivals like China and Russia. Workers lost jobs, ports slowed down, and America's energy dominance started to slip. Now the choice is clear but tough. Should the United States drop these tariffs and try to win back its customers through open trade? Or double down on protectionism and risk even deeper isolation? Or maybe pivot to new energy sources, like renewables and hydrogen, that don't carry the same geopolitical baggage? This is a debate that affects everyone, from workers in small towns to consumers paying at the pump to the global balance of power. So, here's a question for you. Who do you think is really winning this trade war? Is it America, or are the real winners China and Russia? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I want to hear your take. And if you found this interesting, stay tuned for our next video where we'll explore how Bitcoin is becoming the new oil in global trade wars. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you want more deep dives like this.